Thanks for staying with us. Now, appearing at the ministerial briefing organized by the Presidential Communication Team at the Presidential Villa in Abuja last week, the anti-graft agency boss, Abdulrasheed Bawa, said that the SCUML that is being managed by the EFCC as well as the Ministry of Trade and Investment is expected to shine the light on non-designated financial institutions. He then further said, we are talking about the car dealers, the jewelry sellers, jewelry dealers, real estate companies, etc. He says money laundering is not a Nigerian crime, as we had said before with our quote. It is a global crime, and in my opinion, there's hardly any sector of our economy that should be left out unchecked, if you ask me. So Enrique Pena, I think that's his name, said, and I quote, I think money laundering is giving oxygen to organized crime. And I think there's no doubt that most crimes in Nigeria today are well organized. So can we make money laundering one less thing to worry about, or at least curb it significantly? And that's our question for tonight. Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. All right, so Elsie, quickly, you say you want to teach me money laundering before I bring in our guest.
You want me to teach you here? Please do. Please do. So the EFCC boss is someone who is winning hearts. A lot of people are beginning to like him, especially with the way he responds to questions and also available for media chats. We're also trying to see if we can get him to come on the show, you know. He's talking tough, really, and I'm really hoping that he can follow through, because the work to be done is a lot. Now, hearing this is unconfirmed and just we hear from our corners and salons and all that, we know of different businesses that when you look at the margins and what they tell you they make and the lifestyle they live, you begin to wonder, are we selling the same thing, right? And you can just kind of question how it is. But then when you also know that there are legit businesses that can actually make you good money, especially when you have your client base and strong customer base, then you just tell yourself, you know what, let me face front and mind my business. God, show me my own way. But money laundering is a thing. It is happening. We know the businesses. In fact, they've not mentioned some business. He has not even mentioned some businesses.
You see what I said?
It's
in
happening.
My opinion, I think every
so I want to see
sector.
how he wants to go about this. I'm really interested to see the angle he wants to fight corruption from, because EFCC bosses are known to be tough and all that, and we saw what happened to the last person. So hopefully this one is clean enough to fight this battle.
You know, the thing is,
because these people you are fighting, they will bring out all the debts in your cupboard to fight you as well.
Fight you back. You know, the thing is, as I rightly said, I think every sector, I mean, the skincare sector, that's what's it called, cosmetics. These big players in the cosmetic sector,
Hair.
perfumery, hair. I mean, there are so many sectors that you see the hair they are selling and you see the house that they are buying is not commensurate with the hair money that they are making. So when it comes to money laundering, I think it's going to be very difficult. And really, I'd like to even ask our guests, you know, how possible is it to really get the real players? Because it's, you know, this one's now, these are people fronting for these people for the money launderers.
He needs to tell us how it works as well.
Yeah, he needs to tell us. He will break down the money laundering for us. Let me bring in our guest. So Soji Apampa is an international corporate and political governance expert, the co-founder of Integrity Organization Limited, a project launched to promote ethical business practices, transparency, and fair competition in both the private and public sector. Over the last 10 years, he has been a consultant for various governance, private sector, and social development projects in Nigeria, and he's joining live from Abuja. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Soji Apampa. That's the first time I'm hearing that name.
Are you sure you're even pronouncing it well?
If you can kindly unmute yourself so we can hear you. Hello, can you hear us now? Oh, can we hear you now? Which of them?
You can.
Okay, we can hear you now. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, I think it's his network. All right, so you heard our conversation, you heard our banter on money laundering. So maybe because for the sake of people that do not even understand this word called, this money laundering philosophy, how does this work? You know, what would you consider as money laundering? Laundering.
Okay. Yes, laundering. I mean, the first thing that you need to know about money laundering is that it involves illicit funds, what is called illicit. So it is money that has been forbidden by law in terms of who the actor is that is handling the money, or what source the money is coming from, if it is forbidden by law, or the channels, the destination, or the beneficiaries of the money. If any part of that is forbidden by law and you then attempt to conceal in order to make it look legitimate, non-illicit, then that process is washing it or laundering it. So you try to hide where it has come from, or who is behind it, or who the beneficiary is, any effort to do that. So you've stolen money, and then you quickly use it to buy jewelry. So, and it will appear, and then you say the jewelry was a gift. You know that you have concealed where the money came from. Then it becomes money laundering. Or you put up a company and you say, what we do here is that we bake potatoes. And as you were describing, it looks like when you add up all the potatoes that are coming out of there, they can never equate to the kind of money that you have used to build the edifice and everything else. Then you wonder, why are you trying to conceal where this money has come from? That's why it's called money laundering. So any attempt to conceal any aspect of it is an attempt to launder it. And that's why it's called money laundering.
Okay, so in explaining money laundering, from my little understanding, I think that for it to be successful to a large extent, you need the services of the accountants, the financial institutions, to also work hand in hand with these people to maybe, what is it now, their books, to ensure that their books work out in a certain way. So what would you say is the best plan, or who are the real actors in this case of money laundering? Aside the person who is trying to launder money, who are the key players working with these illegitimate people to ensure that money laundering works?
The way EFCC finds it is that there are non-designated financial institutions. So there are some institutions that handle money but are not really financial institutions. So they've created this special control unit against money laundering called SCUML, which is then going and monitoring the activities of such people. Even NGOs are under SCUML because you can legitimize or cover where the money has come from by being a philanthropist. And you mask what the real purpose of the money was about. So even your jeweler can help you in that. But what people don't look at is that lawyers have a bigger role to play than even the accountants.
Okay.
Lawyers help to create something called trusts. And whereas trusts are useful for many purposes, so there's nothing wrong with having trusts. Even General Obasanjo, when he was president of Nigeria, set up a blind trust for his shares in Transcorp. So you have a trust, and so the trustee is different person who holds the asset, but the trustee is the legal owner, while he or she or an entity that it is managing those assets. Then they are the legal owner of the assets. So if I had illicit assets and I put it in a trust and I appoint a trustee, the trustee is the legal owner, and I can find a way to blur my relationship with the trust so that I launder my involvement, and you can't easily find me. You just find a legal structure and a trustee. I may also, as part of these deeds, they're called trust deeds, I can be part of the beneficiaries, which I can also hide and mask as best as I can. So these sort of legal constructs to create and entities to hide who the real owner is, who the beneficiaries are, or who is involved in the day-to-day activities, all of those things contribute to money laundering.
So do you do you think these special control units have got all it takes to unmask this level of money laundering activities?
Oh, is it there? Did we lose him?
Can you hear me?
I think we lost he's frozen.
It's
So I was
frozen.
even going to ask him that, is there honestly any sector in the economy today
That cannot be used to
that
launder
cannot
money.
be used to launder money? Because why they are putting the focus on, I mean, I remember one time in my business, somebody was supposed to like buy over the business and all of that when I was moving down the mainland, because I didn't know how to manage
The
going there and
distance.
all of that. So by the time she came in, she works in a bank and everything. So we sat down. She said that she's always been passing this my store. She also always used to say that it's like the person that owns this business is like the person is for, she's just is this kind of people that they just open a business just to cover up.
Yeah.
Is a font, is a font, so that she was honestly, if not because she has had a conversation with me, she already had concluded in her head that this business, whoever owns this business, is laundering money, because
Why did she come to that
so because
conclusion?
I mean, you see stores in Ikoyi, you see all these people open a furniture store. Nobody's entering there, nobody's buying it. So I'm just
Those
going.
ones are
Do
the
you understand?
worst.
You see nobody's entering there, nobody, and the things
They
are
have their
expensive.
clients,
You
they
just
have their
forget
clients.
which kind of clients, Elsie, leave that thing.
The
But
clients
let me
are in
ask the
Ikoyi.
guys, because
Is it back?
yeah, I think.
Okay.
Are you Baxter? I was just going to ask you that. Is it possible that we can actually, I mean, in your years of experience, can you hear me? That trace. I mean, is it possible that there are? I mean, is there any sector right now that is not? I just believe that this money laundering thing is deeper than even what this EFCC are trying to narrow down on just cars.
Yeah.
What's it called? So how do we even begin to fight the battle? Because it's gone deep. And the spread is quite wide.
Which is
The
why I'm
spread
asking if they have what it takes.
It's
Sorry.
like asking, how does Nigeria combat? It's like asking, how does Nigeria combat an epidemic? So you have an epidemic, it is spreading, and it is not just one person that is involved. You've got to take certain measures. Number one, to curb the spread and to deter more people from doing it. And then you have to get back to the source to stop it from spreading anymore. What you need is a proper preventive strategy, which is what EFCC is saying that they are now doing. And we hope that getting involved with prevention is not just running after real estate agents and jewelers. It means you have to set up a proper compliance system. What does that mean? That people understand what the law says, that they understand what money laundering is, that they are reporting as they should report, and that you can identify and catch exceptions, and that you have the manpower and capacity to, when a risk is assessed by your system and thrown up, that you have the capacity to investigate and properly identify whether there is really money laundering going on, and that when you do detect that something is wrong, that you have a proper consequence management framework in place, that you can actually sanction effectively, and not everything is the courts. Because if you find a civil servant that is living above their means, I'm sure that there are already administrative procedures you can take. That you can get the head of service to already suspend that person without pay while your investigation is going on. I'm sure there are things where you have enough evidence on the face of it to make sure they cannot continue to benefit from those resources. While you then carry out proper investigation. And when you've investigated, what we don't do very well is to go back and see what is it about our system that allowed this to happen in the first place. And then you close the tap You close the loophole, you close the gap. So if you're not doing those things, you cannot really be claiming to be doing prevention. So except you're able to do prevention, so not more people are getting infected, then you can run after those who are infected and quarantine them. But if all you're doing is to run after everybody that has COVID without dealing with where the COVID is coming from and to try and vaccinate people from COVID, then you will run till you die. You will never finish it. Anybody who sneezes, you will claim they have COVID. And you go and lock them up. So you really have to have the compliance systems in place and the ability to sanction effectively and swiftly. And that is how EFCC can be successful with this.
Okay, so I'm hoping that the people at EFCC are thinking like you are, or even thinking better than you are right now. We know that when it comes to money laundering, the real actors are really buried in a lot of paperwork, like you said, thanks to the lawyers and the financial people, and of course a lot of being sworn into anonymity as well. Do you see a situation where innocent people are being arrested for these cases? Do you see us having a situation at our hand where this sort of going after people that are into money laundering is used for some witch hunts, like we like to call it?
As I mentioned earlier, that it is possible that you might be handling the trustee and not the person who granted the assets, or somebody in law called the settlor. So if you are not able to find the real person behind the assets, and you're not able to identify the beneficial owners of the assets rather than the legal custodian of the asset, you can punish the wrong person. Because the legal custodian may not have all it takes to be able to identify the very real source, especially if it had been laundered before it came to them. And you know that what I said laundry was the ability to conceal either who it came from, how it came through, you know, whether the purpose was legal or not legal, and so on. If it has been well cleaned before it gets to you and you are the trustee, EFCC can pick you up. And you are not the person.
Absolutely. And that is what will happen in Nigeria. But you know, I was going to ask you, because the EFCC boss, I think the report came out yesterday on Punch, that is giving top MDs and top directors and top executives of banks, I think there's a deadline, the end of this month, or the end of this month, yes, to declare their assets. How does this help in the fight against financial crimes? Is asset declaration, is it really, you know, a right direction for fighting money laundering? How do I call it, laundering? I think it's
the truth is, if it was not a useful tool, the bank MDs will all have complied by now. And they will not be talking about these deadlines and trying to remind everybody. Because what it's saying is, if you don't declare everything you have, for example, you have 6 houses in the south of France. You've got 2 buildings in Jersey. You have a company in South Africa. You own a row of houses in South Africa. If you don't declare it and they find any of it and can trace it to you, you're going to jail. It's simple.
Yeah.
But if you declare it, now you're in another problem. Where did you get the money from? They can ask you to explain. So you can see that it sets up a dilemma and it stirs up the industry. And maybe they're doing it just to find out who moves. After the announcement, who is going to make a sudden move, and then it gives them a direction in which to look. But having said that, it's not just EFCC. This is actually a requirement from the central bank. And this requirement has been there, but nobody was enforcing it. So EFCC is not the one introducing this thing about the declaration of assets by principal officers of the financial institutions. It's actually been on the books for a while.
Absolutely.
So EFCC is just looking out for any instruments that they can use in order to strengthen their ability to prevent corruption.
Absolutely. All right, because they said this law has been in place for 35 years, but nobody had really enforced it. Some just declare what they like. Some don't even declare. But you know what? We'll take a very short break. When we return from the break, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us and we'll take your comments. We'll be right back. If you're just tuned in, our focus tonight is on money laundering and the activities of the EFCC. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-80384663. And we still have our guest with us. Amazing. Breaking it down. Me, I'm just a student today learning. All right, so before we went on a break, I was saying to you that, you know, even in that report where they talked about the bank MDs, you know, declaring their assets, they said this law has been in place for the past 35 years, but nobody really enforced it. Some would just declare maybe just what they feel like declaring, you understand? Some not even declare at all. They just do what they like and all of that. So in all of these things, right, where is the role of, and that was why I was really wishing our lawyer was here today, the role of the judiciary in all of this fight against money laundering? Because, I mean, today I took a story on the ex-governor, Oji Uzor Kalu, where he's trying to go back to fight federal government to say they don't have the right to what's the word now he used to retry his case,
charges, yeah.
a case that was not really concluded, you know, but he's saying that they don't have the right to retry the case. So where's the role of the judiciary in all of these things, you know? Because if we really want to make a headway, there has to be a legal framework that backs up some of these actions, that gives, you know, strength to whatever it is that the EFCC is doing. Are you with me?
Okay.
Yeah, there's a delay.
I'm not sure. The judiciary is a problem, quite all right, but I'm not sure that is the only problem, or that is the main problem here.
Okay.
Because even if just some 200 counts of charges, and the court is going on forever trying to determine all of those things, there's them there from the beginning. Then I wonder if you can't stand up in court and say, why are the executives of the banks being asked to declare their assets, presumably openly? What about the public servants? Are they being asked, what is Code of Conduct Bureau doing? Are people able to see whether or not our public servants, the senior ones, have declared their assets?
Thank you.
I think all sorts of issues are going to come to the fore as a result of this declaration. But in the case that you have mentioned regarding the governor, that's the only defense that he has. He has to try to prevent it from coming back to court. Otherwise, he might have to stand trial for it again. So I guess his lawyers will be trying to prove that you cannot try a man for the same offense twice. That's if they're able to prove that he has indeed been tried. So they will have lots of debates and arguments over whether the trial has taken place or not, or whether it was suspended and it's now being continued again. Those will be the arguments that they will have to make in order to stop the trial from going on. So that's the only thing he can do. So, well, good luck to his lawyers.
I think they will try their best.
I mean, I like what you said regarding the public sectors and the public office holders. If you're asking the bank MDs or people in the private sector, quote unquote, to begin to declare their assets.
Politicians.
It can also be twisted to say this is a witch hunt on these people. Again, Nigerians will go back to tell you when we had COVID-19 pandemic, or the pandemic is still there anyway, but I mean in Nigeria, when it was the front burner, these were the same people who rallied around to give us what we called COVID, and even the government were basically telling you there is no money, there is nothing we can do about it. But these were people who came out of somewhere to be able to gather some funds and give us a level of palliatives that even the government were hoarding as well, you know. So you could see a situation where people might want to start fighting for these people, regardless of how amazing we think the job the EFCC boss is about to do. I mean, last week on the news, we saw that 1 billion naira in cash was found it's in the house now or in the office of a civil servant. And you begin to question how much is a salary and how exactly do you have 1 billion naira in cash with you, right? So when it comes to the EFCC, is it a case of you can only go go after the people who you think you should go after at the moment, or they're supposed to work across board for the public servants, the senators, and all of them that have allocations, and we don't see what these allocations are doing in their constituencies? Is this just supposed to be a witch hunt for the MD? Because we won't blame Nigerians if they begin to think that way.
Wow, there's a delay. Okay.
Okay. So,
we lost him.
Oh my
There was a
goodness.
delay. There was a delay. We'll try to reconnect with him back. But in all honesty, I think a more holistic approach would be that going forward.
They should lead by example.
Yes.
Not declaring cows.
I think Soji is back. Okay. Did you hear Elsie's questions? All of it, or should she come back again? Oh, sorry. Can you come back again? Come back again, because we didn't hear you from the beginning.
I said, speaking about declaring cows, it's very important to let people declare cows, because there are some cow breeds and species that will cost you $1 million per cow or more. So when you see cows, it's not just those ones that are roaming the streets. If you have a cow that is worth 1-point-something million, and somebody tells you, I've got what? How many 100,000 cattle or whatever, you better pay attention to those cows and go and count them and see what type of cows. Yes.
But did you get my question before you went off?
The question was about, or at least what I got out of it was that can't the private sector, can't it happen for the private sector that they think that the public thinks it was a witch hunt when you go after the bank executives? And you gave the example of COVID and how much people donated. Not wanting to get into the debate about COVID and the money and the reason for which they donated the money. I would say that investigative journalists should look at it very carefully. Who donated, how much did they donate, and what are they benefiting after all of that? We'll come to it. Because, you know, there were some monies that were brought in, and there were some who were preferred to manage those monies on behalf of government. Many of them may have been involved also in the process of donations. So it could have just been a quid pro quo. You know, I'm just saying, you know, you may want to look at it carefully, you know, but yes, it is true. It's public sentiment, and the public sentiment may be with them at this time, and it's easy to share that. But how much of the palliatives the people get, that also is debatable. So it's not about COVID. It's really about how we manage things in Nigeria, because that's why our money laundering issues are not going away. People believe that if you share, nobody's coming after you. The person who eats alone is the one that dies alone. So just understand that. So all of this thing EFCC is saying, you have not shared with the right people. Oh, your name will be on list.
Okay.
If you have shared at the right levels, then your name is not going to end up on that list. That is the general perception of the public. So it remains for EFCC to show us that they have a different resolve, which is why I'm saying they have to go back to the compliance framework, ensure that there is a proper system of compliance in place, and then there is a proper consequence management framework, so they don't get accused being political in their action, because no government agent has the power to go against everybody at the same time. So you will be forced to start with some people. And as soon as you start with some people, then you are in that catch-22. They say, oh, you are starting with them because they are not from your area. You are starting with them because they did not share anything with you. You know, so the arguments are endless. If you say the tap of state resources is leaking, but you station a man with a blala to run after everybody who is fetching, that obviously is futile. What you need is to fix the faucet and stop the leakage first. Now you can run after those who are fetching. Otherwise, you will run after every single person and there will be no end. And that is the way we've been fighting corruption before now. So it's really welcome that the EFCC wants to take a more strategic approach.
Yeah.
I like what you have said regarding the processes and them also managing public perception. My question was not really trying to defend them with COVID. Of course, there is politics around that. But my question is really the place of leading by example, which I think we lack in this part of the world. So if you want to fight corruption, why not start with people that are supposed to be the leaders of the economy, which is where I'm basically coming from. I'm not saying the bank MDs, I mean, we don't know what they have done or what they have not done. If they have done anything, I'm not saying they should be exempted because they are sharing. My question is, why can't we really lead by example in this part of the world? And if we cannot do that, is there a hope for us to really fight corruption?
Yes, there is a hope. And you'll be amazed that it is still around this compliance issue. Let me give you an example. In 2019, ship captains of vessels coming to Nigeria made 264 complaints about officials trying to get money out of them, bribes out of them. By 2019, by 2020, this number dropped to 121. And so far this year, only 27 incidents. So what is responsible for that? And yet, corruption hasn't disappeared at the ports. It's because they set up standard operating procedures. And they agreed with the private sector that if these procedures are flouted, this is what you can do. And there was buy-in from the tops of the agencies. So if an immigration officer was trying to shake down a ship captain, he knows he can make a report through the Shippers Council, and it will get to the top of immigrations. And the top of immigrations can be relied upon to come down on their officer and put them in their place, especially if it's a trumped-up charge. So over the last few years, it's becoming clearer and clearer to everybody that don't touch the members of the Maritime Anti-Corruption Network because it's bad market. Go for somebody else. So I think that if you put such mechanisms in place, which are compliance mechanisms and consequence management mechanisms, these things can come down without you changing the morality of the specific actors.
Okay, so because we're running out of time, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on, because I hear this new man, Bawa, what's his name, Abdulrasheed or something, the new EFCC boss is really doing an amazing job, because, I mean, they have argued that because he rose through the ranks, right, he's the first EFCC boss that have grown and have, you know, from zero all the way to where he is today. That's why he knows the in and out of how to fight corruption. So do you agree with that? That's one. Then number two, is it possible for us to have a better structure that is not tied to a person? Because my fear with Nigeria is, okay, we always focus on the head. If the head is good, every other thing would work. But all the time and time again, we see that once that good head is taken away or moved to a different department or whatever,
start afresh.
Well, it's almost like starting from ground zero. So is it possible to be able to put a structure, from your wealth of knowledge to fighting these issues? Is it possible to put a structure that is beyond one man?
Yes, that was the kind of example I was alluding to from the maritime sector, where it is based on having standard operating procedures, having a grievance reporting mechanism. So these are all systemic issues, and it is systems and processes they've put in place. So even when one leader goes, the process is still there, and it's not dependent on the leader. The project in question has been on since 2012. It has gone through like 2 or 3 regime changes, and instead it has gotten stronger and stronger with regime change. So it's not about even who is president. It wasn't started by this administration, but when they came on board, they launched some of these arrangements. So I think this is the way to go, to institutionalize the fight against corruption rather than personalize it. And I think that is the issue that you are raising as well, and I couldn't agree with you more.
Okay, so let me take a question from, I see a comment now. Many financial experts in the country are aiding and concealing the source of the money through a series of transactions and bookkeeping tricks. We need to find out the reason why people are looting billions that they don't need. The greed is just too much. That's from Raphael Akori from Zaria. Thank you, Raphael. We'll find out. Well, Elsie, 1 second.
Yeah, so you are the founder of the Integrity Organization, and you did this back in 1999. I mean, that's a long time ago. So very quickly, if you're going to rate Nigeria on whatever, if there's something called an integrity meter, where would you say we are?
It is very, very difficult to do as a whole, but I don't think we're doing as well as we could have yet. Some sectors we have gone better than the others. Like I talked about the maritime sector, where things have significantly improved. You can also talk about maybe immigration, where they have relaunched their portal, so a citizen can actually apply for a passport without getting in touch with officials. And we want to track that and prove that it is working.
You get your passport.
But I think that until we're able to institutionalize our processes, we're not going to do very much better on indexes like the Corruption Perception Index. But having said that, the fact that it has been dropping year on year, the amount of corruption experienced by those who are in international trade and interfacing with us, I dare say that in a couple of years, we might actually see an improvement in our rating, because for the Maritime Anti-Corruption Network, for instance, they had a Boni working group. But because of all of these changes in Nigeria where things are much easier, they've disbanded their Boni working group. Instead, they're asking other countries to learn from Nigeria and find out how they were able to reduce the incidence so that it can reduce in the whole of West Africa as well. So on that area, we've done very well. But in many other areas, I'm afraid to say I wouldn't give a pass mark.
Oh, Soji Apampa. I feel like blowing kisses to you, because I told them about the immigration system
until you get your passport.
For the first time in my life, I went online to apply for my international passport. So they are waiting for the passport not to come out so that they can laugh at me.
Until it comes out and you don't give anybody, even if it's 500 naira.
I'm not giving anybody a dime. Thank you so much, Mr. Soji Apampa, for joining us. We had an amazing time with you. We hope you come back again. All right, so before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment. Most importantly, we're planning a huge giveaway to say thank you to you for watching Ways and believing in the Ways brand. And so do well to follow us on Instagram. It's at PlusTvAfrica. Like, share, comment, invite your friends, and just follow us. So if you missed today's quote, here it is again. Corruption, money laundering, and tax evasion are global. They are global problems, not just challenges for developing countries like Nigeria. Okay. So when we hear such things, let's think that think global. It's a global problem. But we are finding local solutions. Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll see you guys live tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.